From my instructor information, you can learn a lot about my educational background and ministry experience and get a quick overview of my family. We have 3 children, 26 grandchildren, and 3 great grandchildren, with 3 more great grandchildren on the way. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. My parents were farmers in western Illinois. They were growing, committed Christians when they purchased a farm out there, but there was no church within 10 miles of the farm. Travel was not easy in 1939 when they moved there, but they drove back as often as they could, about 15 miles, to their former church home. But they wanted a church in their neighborhood where their children could learn about the Lord with neighborhood children. In 1940, they were instrumental in getting a church started about a quarter mile from the farm. There was an empty church building there, and with the help of a young Moody graduate and his wife, they planted a successful church that has continued to have a significant spiritual impact through the years. I was 3 years old. The church was 3 years old when I was born. What a rich spiritual heritage God has given to me. We had a typical family farm. We raised hogs and beef cattle, had a small dairy operation, and we raised chickens for eggs and meat. It was a family-involved farm. But somehow my dad had decided he would never have sheep on his farm again. It had too many headaches. Yet, as a 10-year-old kid, I had a cousin who had a ewe that had given birth to triplets. He offered the little triplet to me. My uncle didn't think she would live, but somehow I persuaded my dad to let me have that ewe to raise. And I've got quite an education in raising that ewe lamb, and learned many lessons that would come in so valuable to me in the future in pastoral ministry and about leading God's sheep. I was the youngest of 3 children. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, our little country church decided to do a missions project in a small village about 25 miles away. My sister drove a carload of workers back and forth, and I rode along for the ride and to participate in the vacation Bible school. It was at that Bible school that I memorized 2 verses that have profoundly impacted my life. Of course, they were from the King James Version, Isaiah 57:20 and 21. But the wicked are like the troubled sea, whose waters cannot rest. They cast up mire and dirt. There is no peace, saith my God, to the wicked. God powerfully used those verses in my life. Some months later, the teacher at our one-room school got another mom or two to help her take us kids down to see the Spoon River flood. As we drove across that highway on a dike, the river was on both sides, water lapping up on the concrete. But the wicked are like the troubled sea, whose waters cast up mire and dirt. There is no peace. It was shortly after that, one Sunday evening, after we came home from church, I went directly to my bedroom, and there I knelt down and invited Christ to come into my life so that I could experience His peace, the peace that surpasses all comprehension. I loved school and the many activities that I could participate in. I was quite active in 4-H and FFA. The FFA is Future Farmers of America. I had in mind to go to the University of Illinois and attend their College of Agriculture with scholarships from 4-H and FFA. However, in my sophomore year of high school, God spoke to me very plainly through my Sunday school lesson. The book said, be sure that what you say is be sure that what you say is God's will for your life is not your own selfish will. It was in that context that God began speaking to me, and I went back to praying and seeking his face. I eventually decided that I should go to Moody Bible Institute for at least a year. My brother and sister had gone there, and I would follow in their steps. After I completed my first year, I came home, and a pastor friend asked me, hey, come over and see me some evening after you get the chores all done. I had no idea what he was going to talk to me about. I was pretty nervous about that. Thought maybe he'd learned who had done some of those pranks at camp. But anyway, I went over, and when he got down to the point of his intended conversation, I was stunned. A little village church had voted the mainline denomination out. They needed a pastor. And his question was, would you consider being their student pastor? That would involve riding the train down to Galesburg, about 200 miles, each Friday afternoon, and going back Sunday night or Monday morning to continue my schooling. Out of respect for him, I agreed that I would preach for them at least one Sunday, but I didn't want to make any kind of a commitment. However, they invited me to be their pastor, and as that developed, that was my weekly schedule for the next 2 years. I learned much. The people were gracious, patient, so understanding. I continued there 4 more years before I enrolled at Dallas Theological Seminary. This same village is the same village where my home church had held a vacation Bible school some 10 years earlier. I want to say welcome to you to our class and pray that our class will be a source of inspiration and encouragement as you learn more about your own culture, your church's culture, and the culture of your community. We have a lot of special learning opportunities ahead of us. Be certain to read the other 6 announcements that are already posted, and to be sure to put some dates on your calendars, because we work straight through July 4th, and you have some interviews that are due in that period of time. So you need to get started on planning for those interviews quite early. God bless you as we learn together in the coming 8 weeks.